If you once thought that repression in Russia was about locking up Alexei Navalny, silencing Novaya Gazeta, or throttling NGOs, think again. That was merely Act 1. Act 2 is now unfolding inside the walls of the Kremlin itself. The purge of Russia's own elite is gathering pace, and every week brings a new fall from grace or a fall from a window, a minister's sudden suicide, an oligarch's empire seized, an executive tumbling from a balcony. This is the moment when the machine has turned inwards. The pact that held Putin's Russia together for 20 years, loyalty in exchange for wealth, silence in exchange for immunity, has collapsed. In today's Moscow, neither silence nor service offers protection. Take the case of Roman Starovoyt, former transport minister and one-time governor of Kursk. He had powerful patrons, none less than the Rothenberg brothers, Putin's lifelong friends. He had medals, a glittering CV, a ceremonial pistol. But when investigators accused him of siphoning off millions earmarked for border defences, his world ended. He was dismissed, and hours later found dead in his car, a pistol beside him. The strangest detail was not his death. That was inevitable. Russia is accustomed to such tragedies, but the Kremlin's silence. No condolences, no staged mournings. A decade ago, even opposition leader Boris Nemtsov's murder elicited ritual words of regret. A cabinet minister today receives less honour than a slain enemy once did. The message is brutal. If you fall alone. The story repeats with the oligarchs. Konstantin Storukov, the archetypal loyalist tycoon, made billions in gold, waved the United Russia flag and never challenged the system. Yet when he tried to flee Russia on his bombardier jet in July, bailiffs stormed the plane, confiscated his passport, stripped him of his empire, not quietly but publicly, humiliatingly. This is no longer just asset redistribution, the routine raiding of the 1990s, it's psychological warfare. The lesson for the boardroom barons is stark. You cannot buy safety. A gold bar has more value than the man who mined it. Why now? Why the brutality inside against insiders? The answer is fear. Putin no longer needs loyalty. He requires obedience. He requires groveling. Loyalty implies a relationship, a bargain. Opening the fridge, or rather not opening the fridge. Share the ice cubes. Obedience needs only terror. The war in Ukraine has consumed not only men and money, but the old code of the elite club. Immunity has evaporated. Status is meaningless as the ice closes in. Once, disputes were about contracts and kickbacks. Now they're about survival. A minister's life is worth no more than that of a conscript. Governors, oligarchs, generals, all equally disposable. As one insider told The Telegraph, officials are shitting themselves. Inside the Kremlin, comparisons are whispered with the Stalinist purges of the 1930s. Then people's commissars shot themselves while waiting for the knock on the door. Today, ministers do the same, while the FSB collects compromat on every official to be deployed whenever the regime needs an example. The logic is familiar. Purge 1, terrify 10,000. Arrest the deputy, force testimony against the minister, roll the net upwards. Fear trickles downwards. Paralysis rises upwards. No one dares speak. No one dares even grumble at the St. Petersburg Economic Forum when a major airport is nationalized. And there's another driver, the economy. Russia's imperial war was hollowed out of the budget. Nationalizations worth $28 billion have plugged short-term holes, but at the cost of devouring the very class that once financed the state. The pile shrinks, the knives come out. Suicide notes and defenestrations are the only most lurid symptoms of an elite cannibalizing itself. But look behind that. Look behind that. And note the irony. Those who fled, Oleg Tinkov, for example, may have lost billions, but they kept yachts, exile, life. Those who stayed to prove loyalty are now in prison cells or coffins. This is what happens when fear becomes the sole currency of power. The pact is dead, the rules unclear, the lines invisible. As one Moscow source put it, we are willing to stay within the red lines, but what terrifies is that we don't know where those lines are anymore. And here lies the bitter lesson. The higher you rise, the deadlier the fall. The Siloviki, the oligarchs, the ministers all now live under the shadow of a single man's whim. This isn't simply repression of dissent. It's the system consuming itself. The elites who thought themselves untouchable are finding that in Putin's Russia you cannot live with dignity, you cannot die with dignity, you cannot count on the master you once served. The master. Oh, look, there's a passing flight. It is survival, not loyalty, that rules now. And survival is never guaranteed. History shows that regimes which live on fear have an expiration date. The question is not if, but when.